Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Talia.
I'm Dahlia.
And we are the Talented Darling Podcast. So, hey.
What's up?
What's up? How you doing, Dee?
I am exhausted, girl. Like, this week has been crazy with assignments.
Oh, yeah. We're both in school. We're doing our career stuff. It's crazy. I just started my internship.
Oh, how is it?
It's good. The kids are really sweet, and the teacher's nice enough, you know. But, yeah, I'm just happy to be back in a classroom. Anyway,
you got this.
I know I got this. I've been doing it for 4 years.
Still.
All right, well, let's get on to today's topic. Today we're going to be talking a bit about representation in media, specifically things that represent us. So we're both Middle Eastern Lebanese people with...
Talia's Christian and I'm Muslim, so we both have, like, different perspectives since, like, we're both Middle Eastern, but, like, obviously different religion, so...
Yes, I'm... But yeah, so yeah, we're talking about, like, things, people that, in media that represent us, represent our beliefs, represent the community we're a part of, and stuff like that. So...
Exactly.
Once again, we have questions to kind of lead our conversation, and hopefully this time we do not get too sidetracked like our other video that took me like 3 hours to edit.
Yeah, I apologize for being a yapper.
I also apologize for also being a yapper. But anyway, let's get started. So our first question is the representation in media. What representation in media did you have growing up? So...
Okay, do you want to go first?
I mean, if you have something, go ahead.
For me, I had several, but they weren't, like, for me, like, Aladdin was one of them, but that was piss poor representation in both the animated and the live action, and I have so much to say about it. I will say the most that I've ever had was just watching, growing up, I would watch Egyptian dramas with my dad, and it was, like, the first, like, time for me, like, seeing people who talk, like, who speak Arabic like I do, or, like, eat the things I do. So... that's, like, my main representation, and for neurodivergent representation, there wasn't a lot, especially because at the time I did not know I was neurodivergent, but I felt like I was attracted to certain characters, like, that, like, not attracted, but I got, like...
You had a connection.
In, but I had a connection with some characters that, growing up, and it was, like, I think looking back, I was like, this definitely...
makes sense now. It makes sense now.
Yeah, and exactly. And with, like, queer media, like LGBT media, it was also the same thing, because, like, at the time, I did not know what it meant, but I just knew that I was, like, it wasn't, like, seeing them on screen, but it was more, like, the attraction of, like, certain characters where it was, like, I never felt attracted to the guy characters, but always to the female ones, you know? Like, with Disney princesses, for examples, I was, like, I didn't care about the princes. I was into the Disney princess mostly because I wanted to either be with them or be them.
Did you have an awakening? Or was it just like...
I did. I think my awakening was Mulan as Ping.
Damn, alright. What does that say about you?
I think it was just like, I really like androgynous women.
Damn, alright.
And, yeah, and neurodivergent media, like I said, it was just like, I felt a connection with certain characters. I feel it was mostly Belle was my favorite, and I feel like, in my head, I feel like she's neurodivergent because, like, she has her special interests, and I was someone who enjoyed reading more than people, and I was like, this should have been a sign for me. And, yeah, with Aladdin, I did not like Aladdin, but there was other, like, Arab characters that I do wish that I got to see more Arab characters that weren't caricatures, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that I weren't just in media that, like, Egyptian media or Lebanese media. I wish it was more in Western media because in, like, my dad's shows, I was like, I wish there was a show that is, like, a Western media that had a character that, like, speaks the language I do and, like, eats the food I do, but isn't caricature. And I feel like the best one was, like, Arthur for me because they had a Muslim character. So
yeah,
honestly, that's like the media where it's like, that's like the way my representation in media. How about you, darling?
How about me? Well, for Middle Eastern media, because I'm Lebanese also, like Dahlia, but I'm also Armenian. And I felt more connection to my Armenian side because it's the language I grew up with. Because of that, I grew up with this Armenian child entertainer known as Talin. And she is kind of like the Armenian version of Miss Rachel. She's like the Armenian version of
in this house.
Yes, we do. She's like the Armenian version of Miss Rachel, and I think she's from LA. She performs for kids in Armenian, sings songs. She has this whole crew of people. She's like Miss Rachel mixed with Barney because she had like this animal crew as well. And so I grew up that was my first like introduction to like Armenian culture and media. But like you said, Aladdin was kind of the more quote unquote Western version of like Middle Eastern, even though it was like not proper representation. I don't even know if a lot of people who voice acted in that movie, and definitely not people who like performed in the live action, were Middle Eastern or Middle Eastern descent.
They weren't. I did check, some weren't, and in the live action, I could go on about this, but let's not get sidetracked. But yeah, a lot of them weren't Middle Eastern. They were like...
Yeah, well, Aladdin came out, when? It was definitely after Walt Disney passed away.
It was the early 90s. So
yeah.
I think it was Aladdin. 1992.
1992. Okay. So I don't want to say representation was still kind of fresh and new, and it wasn't the main priority for a lot of companies, but like that was like, cause Aladdin's based on Arabian Nights, right?
It is based on Arabian Nights, but it was actually more of a Chinese folktale, apparently. I think that's like what I've read about. But it was, it was very Orientalist, and like Aladdin itself is very Orientalist. I personally find it Orientalist because it's like, I could go on about this, but I just thought it was a very poor representation of Middle East. Like, it's funny because like that was the only Middle Eastern character that I had, but I went more for Belle because like
Bella's a real one.
Bella's a real one, and like Belle was like more for the neurodivergent than like the ethnic. I didn't have any like ethnic character to look up to, so.
Yeah.
That's, we love that.
We love that. So yeah, there was that. And like this wasn't, okay, how do I explain this? With LGBTQ, it was still a new concept to me growing up, obviously, but my parents didn't keep it from me. So like I would see, I think family members who were open about it, stuff on TV that showed up, like I would ask about it, and my parents were never like afraid to like talk about it with me. My first like kind of, oh, so it's normal was when I played The Sims 3. And in The Sims 3, you can put, like, female couples together, you can put guys together, you can put women together. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is normal. This is just what happens in life. And I think with YouTube and just watching, flash mobs and like stuff like just media in general that included and had LGBTQ representation, it kind of just became fact for me. And I didn't really go through the whole like, oh, this is what that is. And then when I learned about that, I also started to question my own sexuality and my own like, who am I and what do I think? So for a long time, I'm like, I don't really have a preference between the two, so I identified as bi for a long time. And then later on, I'm like, I also don't feel intimate feelings for them. Like I never had a crush growing up. I had like fleeting feelings for certain people, but it was never anything like over the top dramatic like so many of my friends would tell me about. So then I realized that, intimacy is not something I care for. It's not something I'm seeking, but I do want romance. I do want solid communication and friendships and relationships. So then I personally, my label is like, I'm bi-asexual. So I feel romantic attraction to men and women, but intimacy doesn't come as easily to me as most people. And it's perfectly normal because we're not it's not the 1950s, we're not our parents, right? And their expectations back in the day was get married, have kids, provide and thrive.
Exactly. me, I don't think we have any time for kids in this economy.
Nope, we do not. Anyway, so yeah, Sims 3 was like my awakening to LGBTQ, and then I found out I was asexual, and then yeah, that's pretty much was my representation in media growing up, I guess. But I
love that.
Yeah, I mean, we're both like, we both grew up in the early 2000s, and like we would the only like LGBTQ representation we would get was usually when it's like they're stereotypical, they're there for laughs, or they're coded, like in High School Musical.
Exactly.
Sharpay's brother, I think he's kind of queer coded.
Yeah, he's queer coded, and oh my god, Sharpay was like also my queer awakening because she was. I think just like the theater kid. It's always like because we were both theater kids, so I was like, that is my awakening. Like also, I grew up a theater kid, so I was like, that's. Oh my god. But yeah, you're right. They're always coded. They're never like explicit. And I know back then it was because it was more taboo, I guess. Like, it's still a new thing. So that's why they were coded. But I feel like over time, that representation started showing up more apparently. And they straight up say it. Like, in Arthur, for example, I keep bringing up Arthur because like, I just really love that show. One of the characters is confirmed to be gay.
The teacher, right?
The teacher. The teacher, yeah. And there's an episode
that was such a cute episode because the kids were like, who is it? And they thought it was the sister for a long time that he was marrying. And then no, it turns out it's another man. And I thought that was super cute.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just accepted it as fact. They just accepted it as fact.
Exactly. And there are a lot of like other times where there are other like, sometimes like in backgrounds there are couples that show like they won't say it explicitly, but they'll show it in the background, like like queer women like in a relationship or like queer men in a relationship. They'll put it more in the background than like put them on the front, where it's like, oh, look at this Easter egg, look at this, or like in the movie Home, not Home.
Home?
What's it called again?
What are you talking about?
Onward.
The one with Tom Holland?
Yeah, Onward. The Onward, you know the Pixar movie Onward?
I know what you're talking about, like the cop character?
Yeah, the cop character, they had her like, as she's explicitly a queer character.
Yeah, but she only had that one line where it's like, my wife is like this all the time, which is like, that's just...
Yeah, exactly.
That's just Disney saying like, oh, look, we're happy about it, and then calling it a day.
Look at us, we're so diverse, we're so inclusive, you guys.
The amount of time they're like, our openly gay, our openly lesbian character, I'm like, y'all been like doing this over and over again. Make the damn princes kiss already.
Exactly, and it's like, it's so stupid where it's like, oh, look at these, and it's like they will either kill off the character barely shows up in the movie, or they're reduced to a stereotype. That's how it works. With Disney. Since
we're on that thing of like modern media, what are some current media that have proper or not so proper representation? So me, when I was thinking of this, it was a lot of the times, like you said, like they're often background characters, or they show up for one episode and they never show up again. So there's this show that recently, unfortunately, was canceled and taken off the air. It was called Craig of the Creek, and
I've heard of it.
It's like one of the most like nostalgic feelings when you watch it, because you're like, you think of a time like when you would go out and play with kids and like imagination and all that. And this is like the show, like these kids are making maps, they're trading snacks, they're meeting new people, they're discovering new things together. And it was such a wholesome show, and I'm so upset that it ended.
Oh.
In one episode, there is this character who wears a hijab. And
I love that.
Her whole story was that she lost a toy that was really important to her that her father gave her. And so because of that, she didn't want any other kid to lose their toy again. So she made this kind of lost and found system that the kids went to. And at the end, it turns out like one of the boys had that toy that he gave to his cat, and he wanted to give it back to her, but she said, there's a lot of love in these scratches. So you know what? If the things are not claimed within 3 years or 5 years or whatever it was, then people can take it and to give it new love. And I found that really sweet. But again, it's yes, there was representation in that show, and there's a lot of representation in that show, which Craig of the Creek was amazing to do. And another show was Big Mouth, which is a more mature show. There was actually there was 2 episodes, but I'm going to get into more specifics. There were 2 episodes. One episode was earlier in the season of Big Mouth where this girl, I forget her name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I know she's a trans character. She's a trans character, and there's a whole episode with her and Jesse getting along, and there's kind of a whole arc where she's like, she kisses a boy, the boy is kind of embarrassed to kiss her because she's trans, and then I didn't know she was Lebanese until in the Human Resources, the spinoff, her sister who has her own kind of whole episode about her and like going to university without her girlfriend. It shows that the father like is speaking Arabic and they're in a very like traditional Lebanese house. And then another episode of that is with their grandmother who passed away. And like I felt so connected because it reminded me of my grandmother. And like they say teta, they speak in Arabic. He's doing like a traditional like prayer for the grandmother. And I'm like,
I love that.
I was so happy to just like hear my language, because I'm not too attuned with my Lebanese side, but it was nice to kind of see that representation in media and be like, these are my people, and stuff. But exactly. It was just a couple episodes in those 2 shows, and I can't really remember any more shows that kind of touch on it, because a lot of the times you see a hijab character in the background of movies and shows, or they only have their 1 episode and then they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. I want to touch on that. Like that 1 episode where they're gone. There's this. I don't know. You know the show Grey's Anatomy?
Yes, I do.
There's this character who's a Muslim character who wears a hijab. Her name is Dr. Qadri, and her character was like butchered to hell. Cause like there's literally a scene where she uses her hijab.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And uses it as a tourniquet, and it's like, I know people will try to defend it and be like, oh, but she's saving a life and shit like that. But it's like, it just feels like a weird plot device, and it's just weird. And then she gets fired after, and it's like, this is so fucking dumb. And it's another thing with a lot of like Muslim like characters where it's like, personally, I'm not a hijabi. I don't wear one, but I have many cousins who are hijabis. There's so many like media with like Muslim characters where they're always ripping off the hijab for an ugly ass white boy, and it's like, and it's like, oh my god, she's escaping oppression. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Tell that to my hijabi cousin who's a dentist and has a job and who's literally makes her husband stay at home. Sorry.
Oh my god.
But anyways.
Yeah. That's why I love We Are Body Parts. Because it's just all...
We Are Lady Parts.
We Are Lady Parts.
Not We Are Body Parts.
Sorry. Girl, it's been a minute, alright? Sorry, we are Lady Parts. It's a show about Muslim women in a rock band.
A punk band.
In a punk band, not a rock band. Punk band.
Get your facts right. You're gonna get the rock and punk kids angry.
First of all, I'm still upset that you watched it without me, the 2nd season.
I'm sorry!
Why didn't you tell me? You could have at least told me.
Because I found out at 4 a.m. And I was like, I gotta watch that. And I watched it at 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, We Are Lady Parts is a great show, and everyone should watch it because it's amazing. The songs are just amazing and hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so like unserious, and I love it.
I like that show is like, I want to talk about that show like when we get to like when we continue this question. That show is honestly like, that was my peak representation, like, right now. That is my peak right now, because, like, even though, like, no matter how many times I watch it, I always find new things to love about it, because, like, it shows, first of all, no hijabi ripping off her hijab for a white boy. None of that. I do have some gripes with certain, like, scenes, like, for example, the ending scene in season 2. I think you told me you watched season 2, right?
Yes, I did.
I did not like the ending where she kissed the guy, because it's nothing against the couple. It's just a little disrespectful in the sense where it's like, because like Muslim girls are not supposed to kiss the guy until like
marriage.
They're not until after marriage. So it's like it feels kind of redundant. Where it's like it feels kind of redundant. That's like the only complaint I have about it. I also like with the prayer like part where it's like, okay, that's not how you pray. But I was like, you know what? I can skip past that because it was like the whole show was just amazing. I love the presentation. I love how it shows who Muslim women actually are, where it's like, I feel like people mistake us to be very like they mistake, especially hijabis, to be submissive, oppressed and everything. But it's like, no, we are so sassy. We are so like one of my cousins who's like, I told you one of my cousins who's a hijabi is so sassy, so like, she's a loudmouth and so like potty mouth. And it's like, we're just like everybody else. That's like, Muslim women, we're just like everybody else. And it just showed, and it's like, the amount of swearing, I was like, damn, there's my people. Cause I'm someone who swears a lot. And it was just nice to see that representation. I especially loved Aisha. Aisha was like, the curly girl representation, because I never had any like curly girl representation unless they were making fun of girls with curly hair, and I just loved her. I just love this show so much. I can go on and on, but like I don't want to get us sidetracked.
It's okay. Well, we talked about the media today. There's also a lot of books now that I tried to read a lot of books from like all kinds of POC authors. Like The Wild Ones. I gave you that for, I think it was Christmas, by Nafisa Azad.
I think she wrote Shatter Me, the Shatter Me series. No,
I don't know.
I think that was wait, Shatter Me series.
I don't think
no, that's so. Another one. That's Tahiri Mafi.
Yeah, the Shatter Me author is Middle Eastern.
Yeah, she's Middle Eastern. Hold up. I know she's Muslim, but I don't know if she's Middle East. She's Iranian.
Okay, cool. So, I didn't know that. Well, dang, good for her.
Yeah, I continue.
Yeah, so like POC authors like Nafisa Azad. Yeah. There's also the We Hunt the Flame author.
Yes, Hafiza. Is that your name? Hafiza.
Hold on, going to my bookshelf.
Hafiza
Faisal, yes. Faisal, yes. I went to look at my bookshelf. It is. Yeah. And just seeing.
I'm picking up reading again. I'm currently reading Hana Khan Carries On.
Yes, I saw it on your Goodreads.
Uzma Jalaluddin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a South Asian author. Is she a South Asian? Or are you a South Asian author?
Can y'all tell we do our research?
It's more of like we're just dumbasses who forget, because we do our research but we forget.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I'm getting back into reading, but yeah, those are We Hunt the Flame. Honestly, when I first started reading it, I was just so in love with like, especially in one of the chapters where they were talking about the foods they were eating. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my god, they mentioned knefe, they mentioned like ba'lewa, they mentioned exactly. I was like, all these foods that I grew up eating. And like other foods, and especially other foods that like people said were stinky. I was like, oh my god, these foods that I grew up eating and people said were stinky are being represented in this book.
Explaining food from our culture is so weird to like people who don't.
Exactly.
Like there's this thing in Armenian culture called we say lebaniye in my family, which is basically it's sometimes we put kibbeh in like yogurt soup. So then...
Oh, yeah, I know. Kibbeh ulaban.
Yes, we say Lebanese in my family.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's because kibbeh ulaban.
Yeah. It's very similar. It's very similar. So it's like, it's a hot yogurt soup with like meatballs in it. Yeah. So then I explained this to my friends in, I think, high school, and they're like, what are you eating? And it's like, oh, it's Lebanese. It's like meatball soup with chicken. And they're like, meatball soup? What? And I'm like, don't knock it till you try it. Jesus.
Exactly. Or I'll get like, especially because for me, one of my favorite foods is frake, and frake is technically raw meat.
Yeah.
And it's very funny, people seeing it, because they're like, isn't that not good for you? It's raw meat. And I'm like, I have to explain the whole pasteurization and like the meat to be selected and how it's grinded with the spices and shit like that.
Or you haven't lived till you've eaten like good Lebanese food.
Exactly.
Good, like we're talking about authors you're reading. That's like my Middle Eastern representation now. Neurodivergent, I feel like you kind of fit more with neurodivergent. I was never tested and well, I was tested, but currently, as I am now, I've never been tested, and I currently do not have a diagnosis for anything neurotypical. But you do have.
I'm diagnosed for like ADHD and like sensory processing disorder, and I want to get like a diagnosis for autism.
Yes,
because there's definitely something up there that's not clicking.
It's okay. It's all good. But yeah, currently in this day and age, like in today's media, do you see any neurodivergent representation?
I do see some. I especially like in newer Monster High, like that one is very like there's an autistic character, and like even though I'm not technically diagnosed, I feel a lot with Twyla, especially because she explicitly says she's autistic instead of it being coded or implied. It's like she straight up says like I'm autistic, and her doll always is shown with like headphones. She stims in the show, and I just love that. I love that that's like the character that I'm like. And also, I've always felt that she was on neurodivergent, like growing up from G1. And another one I love this show so much, is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I always felt with Jake, especially with like the ADHD, because like, I do feel like Jake is like ADHD coded. Just like, I do like feel a lot of like pulled in by Jake. Jake is like my favorite, like he's one of my favorites. He's such a good protagonist, personally. But also another character I feel like is also Holt, because of like...
yeah.
And, I feel like Rosa is somewhat on that spectrum, because it's like I just feel like she is. I don't know. I just feel like she is. There's just something.
That's your interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't see it, but like, it's a spectrum, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's mostly Jake. I feel like he's coded, like neurodivergent coded.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, from Lucifer, there's a character, like not from Hazbin Hotel, but like Lucifer. Like,
the show, yeah, on Netflix. Lucifer. Yes, I just finished watching it.
There's a character, her name, fuck, I forgot her name. Right. She has like an interest in forensic science, and honestly, yeah, and also another character in Monster High is Cyrena, like Cyrena Von Boo. She's like from the G1, from one of the fusions. She's so like
the ghost mermaid, yes.
The ghost mermaid, and it might be because I love mermaids, because like I love mermaids so much, and that's why I'm like, yep, I love her. And also Abby, the G1 Abby. I'm not a fan of G3 Abby, but I feel like G1 Abby is somewhat not coded, but like the bluntness is something that I relate to, because sometimes I can be blunt, and I end up being blunt on like
over honest.
So I can be kind of over honest like she is. So I definitely like resonate a lot with Abby. And yeah, honestly, those are like the characters I resonate with.
Okay. Well, we can move on to LGBTQ kind of characters and representation. So
yes.
So
current media.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm bisexual, and
yeah,
there's like a lot. Yeah, there's like a lot of, I find, like, if not blunt characters like said on screen, like Rosa Diaz, who's bisexual.
Yeah.
What I want more of is like asexual representation, because like
yeah,
I'm still figuring myself out and still trying to find where I stand under the umbrella of asexuality.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, I get that.
So I can't really name a lot of canon asexual characters, but I can name like fanon, like in the fandom. Like fandom have claimed these characters as asexual. Like Elsa is apparently in the fanon, and SpongeBob, because the creator doesn't want him to be in a relationship. So like
I've always seen SpongeBob as ace too, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's doing his own thing. He's not really, there's not really a lot of romantic.
We love that.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been an episode where he kind of explores like a romantic relationship with anyone. I think Squidward had one, and then Patrick, and then like an obscure one, but he was always just like, if he was just goofing around, and I think like he went on a date with Pearl to like take her to her school dance, but just as a favor and like as friends, nothing romantic between them. But
exactly.
but like We talked about this in the previous episode. Like, Alistair is kind of like one of the main asexual representations right now. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other ones out there.
Mammon,
yeah.
Mammon is also technically considered, especially because like in a lot of like the merch that Disney Pop makes for Helluva Boss, he's always, especially the one for Pride, he's like in like ace garb and everything. So I know he is also another. I feel like there was another Octavia.
Yeah,
too.
Octavia's also ace, and yeah.
For me, I resonate a lot with Octavia being like, especially just like, cause like the emo, but.
Yeah, she's a well thought out character. She's not a carbon copy.
She's a well thought out character.
Yeah,
she's a well thought out character. It's not a carbon copy of a lot of emo teenage characters.
Yeah, the whole show makes an effort to make sure like the characters are not just one dimensional. That's why there's so much debate over if Stolas was wrong or not about cheating on Stella, and how like the relationship between him and Blitz is like so complicated. It's like you're meant to question everything. You're meant to like have discussions over it, because you know some people they can't escape situations like that, so they find that doing these things is the only way to escape. You know, the representation I have right now is a lot of Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel characters. Well, mostly just Alistair, Mammon, and Octavia, as you said. But I would like to see more representation. I'm sure there's some out there in some obscure show that I've never seen before, but it's like, to have it more present and like relevant in media would be really nice. So,
I get that.
Yeah. Do you have any characters that you kind of resonate with?
For me, yes. Like Rosa, not just for the neurodivergent, but also for the queer. Because like for me, I definitely feel like she's also ace. I know it's not explicitly; she's just explicitly bi. But like at the end of season 8, like very end, she like talks about like relationships and stuff like that, and it's like I do feel like that was kind of like a code for her being ace. But anyways, she's my rep, and especially because she's a person of color. So it's like I don't see a lot of queer people, like even if it's not like, and also Aisha from We Are Lady Parts, her because she's because she's like honestly she's like she's queer and Muslim, so it's like she's my rep. And ace characters, Alistair not for his morals, same with Mammon not for his morals.
Yeah.
But
so how do you feel about how well or poorly your community is represented in media? Do you want me to go first?
I feel like if you want, go first.
Yeah, so for Ace, it's still a new concept that not many touch upon or is never explicitly mentioned. So it's hard to have a romantic comedy with an ace character, you know, because how does that work? But it's hard to bring that up naturally. Like, there was an interview that Amir Talay and a couple of other has-been voice actors had, where a question came up like, thank you for having Alistair as asexual representation, and thank you for Ace in the Hole, the joke. Because Amir says like, Alistair never bluntly says that he's asexual, and he doesn't know that he's asexual. So it's kind of the experience for a lot of people who are still discovering what that word is or what their sentiment is. And I think the way they approached it, and apparently it's going to get explored more in the next season. The way they approached it is very natural, because again, like what we said last episode was, when characters are represented, we want their representation to be a part of them and not completely them. Like, don't make a Middle Eastern character if all their character is to be the token Middle Eastern character. Make them a character that happens to be so and so. You know what I mean? So then that's why Alistair is a great character, like in a great like anti-hero / future antagonist kind of thing. Because like, anyway, still it's a new concept, and all that people touch upon. So I want that more. But what's happening now, I think, is great. And Middle Eastern characters are very like one-dimensional and very unexplored, I find.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, it's something I wish I really want to see it more outside of the general, like, Middle Eastern, like, cinema, because, like, Middle Eastern cinema obviously is going to have Middle Eastern characters, and it's like the same with Bollywood, where it's like Bollywood obviously is going to have Indian characters, but Bollywood does have its like issues, and especially when in terms of like how they treat dark-skinned Indian women compared to light-skinned. But anyway, with like Middle Eastern, like I wish like I could see Middle Eastern media in Western media, where it's like, for example, with Amir, I'm so happy to have someone who is Middle Eastern in voice acting because I don't see many of that, but as for how well, but like just like you said, Ace is a new concept, so it's like it feels like it's harder to represent it, but you could still try to, as long as you consult the right people for it.
Yeah.
Like with Hazbin Hotel, I know I mentioned this last episode where I feel like the Ace representation tends to be a bit botched, or like it's explicitly disrespected on purpose for plot. Like with that scene with Vox and Valentino and Alistair.
I know you have your gripes with that scene, yes.
And with Middle Eastern characters, yeah, you're right. You're not just one but dimensional, sometimes like, or unexplored, but sometimes it can be just straight up stereotypical, where it's like, are you making, like, it's like, why are you having us? Or like, sometimes they inaccurately represent Middle Eastern people, like, in Aladdin, if it's okay for me to go on that, like, for me to talk about that.
Yeah, go
without, with Aladdin, for example, yes, it's a Middle Eastern story, but there's so many elements where they're mixing in South Asian and Middle Eastern, like, elements together, where it's like, you don't even know what the hell they're trying to represent. Like, is it a Middle Eastern story? Is it a South Asian story? Pick one, like, and like with like Aladdin, and also they claim to represent, but the characters have very, like, especially the main characters, because they're the good guys, they have very Eurocentric features and light skin, but Jafar, the bad guy, he has very ethnic features. He has a big nose, he has darker skin, and it's like, it's just trying to say like, oh, Arabs are barbaric, they look barbaric, and it's like, and they lightened him in the Aladdin live action, and they lightened Jasmine, and even though the 2019 Aladdin was better, because not better, but in like, they kind of fixed up the problems from the animated movie in terms of like the way they represented Middle Easterns. It still feels, they still did the same issue where they mixed South Asian and Middle Eastern together, and it's like, if you're gonna represent, honestly, I feel like you need to talk to the people who are from that culture, talk to people who are from those communities, and see what you can do right. Like, obviously, you're not going to do it perfectly, but you could still try and still get, like, advice, you know?
Yeah.
That's, like, the way I see it. Because it's, like, representation does not equal, like, I like to say this, representation does not always equal respect, because, yeah, you have a Middle Eastern character, but is it a good representation? Is it a good representation of a queer character? Is it a good representation of a neurodivergent character? That's, like, the way I, like...
Yeah.
See, like, in terms of neurodivergent, like, representation, like, bad, that's Sia movie.
Oh my god, I was just about to say it, yeah.
We do not talk about that, because it's like... And, like, on the terms, like, before I get into that, the terms with, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, We Are Lady Parts, it's not perfect. Like, there are certain things where it's like, a little bit wrong. But you know what? They tried, and it turned out to be amazing. Honestly, I loved it. But anyway, back to neurodivergent representation. Yeah, that's Sia movie. First of all, she got consultation from a foundation that is known to be against autistic people. That is known to, like, be very like, oh, you can cure autism, because they think autism is a cancer or something. And
casted a non-autistic girl, made her do stereotypical...
Exactly, made her do stereotypical autistic traits. Had a scene where she's being held down, which a lot of autistic people say they do not condone that. They do not condone holding down someone who's autistic, who's having a meltdown. And not only that, but it wasn't even accessible to autistic viewers because of the amount of overstimulation in the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I will say, I watched this kind of YouTube documentary of the comparison between Sia's movie and what's the K-drama, Attorney Woo or something like that.
Yeah, I started watching that for that, like,
yeah.
And there are some stereotypes where it's like, even the actress herself, she's not autistic in the show, but at least she tries, like, and it's not, at least she tries, you know?
Her interpretation of the character and neurodivergent, like, tendencies, was heavily researched. I think she spoke to a lot of neurotypical people.
Yeah.
She did it in a way that made it, like, personal and emotional, and it wasn't to make fun of this community, but it was to, like, to show others, like,
try to represent
it in the most respectful way possible. And this is coming from me. I don't have a diagnosis, but you really enjoyed the show, right? Or you're enjoying it now?
I'm enjoying the show. I haven't continued it in a while. Like, I don't know what episode. I'm pretty sure I'm still in season 1. But I know there's a scene where she has a meltdown, and one of the guys, like, he tries to calm her down, and she asks him, like, and it shows that that neurodivergent people, or, like, people with special needs, or they have agencies, or they know what they need in a moment of distress, where she was asking him to hold her tighter. So he wasn't holding her down. He was acknowledging that her agency, and he was acknowledging, like, oh, what does she need in the moment? That's compared to that scene in Sia where they're pinning the girl down without her consent, pinning her down in, like, and they make it, like, they pin her down in, like, a way where it's like, I know the guy who was doing it was like, oh, I'm suffocating her with my love, or, like, I'm something like that. And that's just so wrong. That's just so disgusting. So,
yeah.
It just shows that, like, not only was no resuch put into this, but it just shows the biases. Not biases, but, like,
stereotypical.
It truly shows how inhumanely how inhumane the treatment of autistic people is, but also, like, how subhuman people see autistic people. And it's just, like,
yeah,
it's just so, like,
in Sia's movie, they treated the autistic character as an object, an obstacle that needed to be tamed. Whereas in Exceptional Attorney Woo, or I forget the name. I'm sorry, guys.
Extraordinary
Attorney Woo. She's treated as her own character. She's a character. She's the main character, and you see her struggles. You see her triumphs. You see her emotional side. She's not an object. She's a person. And surprise, guys,
exactly.
Autistic people are people.
Exactly. And it's like, this also reminds me of another show, like, not just Sia, but The Good Doctor.
Oh my god, don't even with me. I can't. I am a surgeon.
I know, and it's like, I quote that a lot, because it's like, I hate, like, it's like, not, I know, like, the guy who played Sean was doing his best, but it was still, like, it's still such a, like, still stereotypical. I feel like they really need to, when it comes to a movie like this, they still need to not just hire autistic people, but also consult them. I know there's a great example is the Pixar movie. It's like a short movie called Loop.
I know
that has a nonverbal autistic character, and they had an autistic person.
Oh, it's so cute. I love that one.
Exactly, and they had someone who is autistic voice the character, and it was like in Twyla from the G3 Monster High is voiced by an autistic actress. So it's like,
it's not hard. It's really not.
It's not hard, and people will be like, "It's so hard to find it. It's so," and like Sia was like, "It's."
Can I say something? If you're struggling, then don't make the movie. Because if you're not willing to put into that effort, if you're not willing to put in the work and the research, you shouldn't be a creator, and you shouldn't be representing these communities.
Exactly.
If you're going to represent these communities, do it right and do it well.
Exactly. Like, I feel like there's no harm in trying to find, like, there's always job posting where it's like looking for an autistic voice actor, looking to voice an autistic character is not that hard. And it's other, like, it's not I don't know if it's considered neurodivergent, but like, you know, the Casagrandes, that show.
Yes, the little boy. The little boy.
There's the CJ, he has Down syndrome, and they had someone with Down syndrome voice him.
Yes.
And he was like, see, that wasn't so hard. And it's like, same with, in Monster High, they had a character with, in the G3 version, they had a character with Down syndrome, voiced by a woman with Down syndrome, and it's like, is that hard? Is that hard?
It's really not.
Like, it's really not. It's like, there are so many who are they're looking for jobs, who are looking to voice act, who are willing to, but it just feels like sometimes they think, oh, they're probably gonna have a meltdown, probably gonna cause problems. It's like, if you're not willing to accommodate, then why are you making a movie or show about a character who deals with those, like, issues, you know? Yeah, who lives like that. Like, if you're not willing to like, accommodate someone in that community, what makes you think you're legible enough to represent them?
Period.
You know?
Mm. Okay. Well, I think we should wrap it up. We're kind of an hour in, but unless you have one more thing to say.
Remember, kids, if you want good representation, fuck.
Okay, great. Good job, Dahlia. Okay, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Talented Darlings podcast. I'm Talia.
I'm Dahlia.
And this has been the Talented Darling podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.